They'll never say it outright, not your teachers, not your politicians, not even the neighbors who give you a polite smile when you walk alone. But deep down, society doesn't fear armies, corporations, or governments. It fears something else. Entirely, it fears you, a man who can't be controlled. You might think they mock you because you're single. You might believe they pity you for walking alone. But the truth is darker. They don't hate you because you're weak. They fear you because you're free. Think about this: marriage, family, debt, religion, politics. These are chains. Chains designed to domesticate a man, to make him predictable, to trap him in obligations so heavy that resistance seems impossible. But when you're single, when you owe nothing, when no ring binds you, when no children claim your time, suddenly those chains fall away. Suddenly you're unpredictable, and that unpredictability terrifies society. Nietzsche warned us: the herd doesn't despise the wolf because it's evil. It despises the wolf because it's free. That's exactly what you are, the lone wolf among a herd of sheep. Look at history. Socrates was condemned for corrupting the youth. What was really his crime? He lived as a question mark, refusing to be a servant. Dionysus, the man who slept in a barrel, mocked kings and priests alike. What was his crime? He just refused to kneel. Tesla, a man who never married, who gave the world electricity, he died alone. What was his crime? He belonged to no one. Every culture creates stories to demonize the single man. They call him a predator, a failure, an unstable loner. But these masks hide something deeper: fear. Fear of a man with no master, a man with no leash. And if you have no leash, you aren't a servant. You're not a follower. You're not a cog in their great machine. You're a threat to it. This is why society rushes to shame you. Why aren't you married yet? They ask. Why don't you have kids? Why don't you settle down? They're not asking to protect you. They're asking to protect themselves. Because if too many men lived like you, the whole system would crumble. Think about it. A man with no wife can't be threatened with divorce. A man with no kids can't be twisted with guilt. A man with no boss can't be bribed with a promotion. And a man with no chains can't be controlled. That's why they fear you. Because you're not stupid. Because you're not owned. Because you're dangerous. And if you watch this video till the end, you'll understand the full truth. Nietzsche was pointing toward: the single man isn't society's outcast. He's society's nightmare. Society loves the herd. The herd is predictable. The herd follows the rules, pays taxes, marries young, produces children, and never asks why. The herd feels safe because it moves together. But when one sheep strays too far, the herd drags it back, bites at it, or leaves it to the wolves. Not because the herd loves safety, but because it fears freedom. Nietzsche called this herd morality, the instinct of the many to enforce sameness on everyone. What's good? Whatever makes the herd stronger. What's evil? Whatever threatens the herd's illusion. And nothing threatens the herd more than the man who walks alone. When you're single, when you reject the contracts of marriage and the rituals of obedience, you stand outside their control. You'd break the illusion that everyone has to submit. You'd prove freedom is possible, and that proof shakes everything. Remember Dionysus, the wild philosopher of Athens. He slept in a barrel, owned nothing, and mocked the powerful. When Alexander the Great, the most feared man of his time, stood before him and asked, "What can I give you?" Dionysus didn't kneel. He didn't flatter. He simply said, "Move out of my sunlight, the conqueror of nations, humbled by one solitary man. Do you see it?" The herd can't stand the solitary because he shows them how weak they really are. He shows them that power isn't in numbers, but in the man who refuses to bow. Nietzsche walks down from the mountain to speak to men, but he doesn't stay with them. He leaves again, because the crowd corrupts the spirit. The herd wants comfort. The solitary man wants truth. And this is exactly why society demonizes you. They tell you to get married, to settle down, to be responsible. But what they really mean is, join the herd, become predictable, be chained like us, because the sight of your freedom is unbearable. Even the church feared the solitary man. The desert, monks of early Christianity left society, walked into the wilderness, and lived alone with God. And what happened? They were called madmen, heretics, rebels. Why? Because even religion which preaches self-denial can't tolerate a man who rejects its leash. Do you see the pattern yet? Every system, political, religious, economic, depends on the herd, and every herd fears the man who doesn't belong. So they brand him dangerous, they call him arrogant, they call him selfish, they call him lost. But these are disguises. The truth is simpler. They fear him because he reminds them of their own chains. And here's the inversion you have to face. What society calls good obedience, conformity, compromise is weakness. What society calls evil solitude, defiance, disobedience, strength. You've been taught to feel shame for walking alone, but shame is the herd's weapon. They want you to never discover your own power, because the moment you understand that solitude isn't loneliness, but freedom, you become untouchable. Think about how many times you've been told you can't live like this forever. How many times you've been treated as if being single were a disease. That pity is not concern. It's fear dressed up as advice. They're afraid of you because you're not trapped like them. And here's the truth you have to accept. The herd will never celebrate your freedom. They'll never cheer your independence, because every step you take alone is a rebuke to their chains. But you don't need their applause. You don't need their approval. You don't need the herd, because one man standing free holds more power than 1,000 chained together. So the real question isn't why does society fear me? It's why would I ever want to belong to it? Power always belongs to the man who needs the least. That's the secret the system never wants you to know. The easiest man to control is the one drowning in obligations. A mortgage, a wife, 2 kids, car payments, a boss who feeds him just enough to keep him alive. That man can't move. He can't rebel. He can't risk. He's predictable. He's safe. He's harmless. But you're different. You're single. And that independence makes you dangerous because you can't be threatened with divorce. You can't be trapped by guilt. You can't be bribed with a promotion. You can't be blackmailed with the fear of losing everything. Why? Because you live outside their game. Machiavelli warned about this centuries ago. He said the man who can't be bribed or blackmailed is the most dangerous of all. A prince may control armies. A priest may control minds. But the man who belongs to no one belongs to no one. Look at modern life. The whole system is built on dependence. They want you in debt. They want you married too soon. They want you trapped in endless bills and obligations. Why? Because a man chained to responsibility has no time, no energy, and no courage to resist. But what happens when you break free? When you have no wife demanding compromise, no children demanding obedience, no debt demanding submission? Suddenly, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. A single man can wake up tomorrow and leave it all behind. He can vanish into a new city. He can change careers. Overnight, he can take risks the herd wouldn't dare. And that terrifies society. Because, here's the truth, control only works on those who have something to lose. And when you're single, you have less to lose than anyone. That's why they ridicule you. They call you immature, selfish, irresponsible. But here's the thing, their insults aren't descriptions. They're weapons. Weapons meant to scare you back into the cage. Think about it. A man with nothing tying him down is a man who can move like a shadow. A man with no leash can't be pulled. A man with no master can't be commanded. This is why your independence is their weakness. Because the moment you realize you don't need their approval, their system starts to crack. The man who can walk away is the most powerful man in the room, and you, as a single man, hold that power. The power to vanish, the power to refuse, the power to live life your way. Society fears you not because you are alone, but because you are untouchable. They can't predict you. They can't control you. And what can't be controlled must be feared. So ask yourself, are you still ashamed of your independence? Or do you finally see it for what it is? What makes you dangerous? If freedom is your strength, then demonization is their weapon. Because society knows it can't chain you by force. So instead, it chains you with shame. Look at the images they push every day. The single man is the joke in sitcoms. He's the creepy neighbor in movies. He's the unstable loner in the news. If he's successful, they call him selfish. If he's quiet, they call him antisocial. If he's independent, they call him dangerous. Do you see the pattern? No matter what form he takes, the single man is always shown as broken. Not because he's broken, because society has to make him look broken, or else everyone will see the truth. He's free. Nietzsche called this resignment the sickness of the weak. It's the tactic of those who can't rise on their own, so they drag others down with insults, slander, and moral judgment. They envy your freedom, but instead of admitting it, they attack it. They can't live your way, so they label your life a failure. It's projection, it's poison, it's fear disguised as morality. Look around you. If you're unmarried at 30, they whisper, "What's wrong with him?" If you choose solitude, they say, "He must be hiding something." If you reject marriage, they call you immature. But tell me, is the man drowning in debt, stuck in a loveless marriage, suffocated by obligation, truly mature, or just domesticated? The herd loves to invent villains, and the solitary man is their favorite, not because you're evil, but because you refuse to be tamed, and refusal to be tamed looks like rebellion to those who live on their knees. That's why every culture invents cautionary tales about men like you. The spinster is mocked as bitter, the bachelor is mocked as pathetic, the monk is mocked as insane, the hermit is mocked as useless. Why? Because each one reveals a forbidden truth, the possibility that life outside the herd not only exists, but might be stronger. And here's the inversion you need to see clearly. Every insult they throw is proof of their fear. If you were powerless, they'd ignore you. If you were pathetic, they wouldn't waste energy inventing stereotypes. But they can't ignore you, because your very existence threatens them. Look at the panic around loners. When something bad happens, the news says he kept to himself. The message is clear too. Be alone is to be dangerous. And in that fear lies the confession. They know solitude creates something uncontrollable, something they can't predict. So what do? They label your freedom as a sickness. They say independence is emptiness. They say solitude is madness. They say refusal to kneel is failure. But understand this, the louder they shame you, the more they reveal their fear. Nietzsche knew this. Resentment is the weapon of the weak against the strong. It's envy disguised as morality. It's the slave pretending chains are virtues, calling freedom a sin. And this should light a fire inside you, because every time you believed their lies felt inferior for walking alone, you gave them power, but not anymore. Now you see their diptization isn't truth, it's proof. Proof that they're afraid. Proof that your existence cracks their chains. Proof that your solitude burns their illusions, so never again feel shame. When they call you a loner, wear it like armor, because every insult they throw is a confession. Society trembles before you. Society calls it loneliness, but you must see it for what it really is. Solitude isn't weakness. Solitude is the forge where dangerous men are made. When you're alone, you're not drained by demands. No wife pulling at your time, no kids sucking your energy, no herd infecting your mind. On solitude, you belong only to yourself. And a man who belongs only to himself can't be owned. Nietzsche said, "Become who you are, but you can't become who you are." When you're chained to noise, when every moment is stolen by others, only in solitude does the mask fall away. Only in silence do you hear your own voice. Only alone do you see who you truly are. Carl Jung called this individuation, the journey to become whole, not by following the crowd, but by facing the depths of your own mind. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but it's the only way to become untouchable. Because when you walk through your own darkness, no one else's shadow can scare you. Think of the lone wolf. The herd mocks him as exiled, pitiful, doomed. But look closer. The lone wolf hunts when he wants to, rests when he wants to, moves where he wants to. The pack must compromise, submit, obey. The lone wolf answers to no one, and that freedom makes him unpredictable. Unpredictable means untouchable. History shows us again and again. Nietzsche walked the mountains alone, writing words that shattered the herd's illusions. Jung broke from Freud, faced years of isolation, visions, inner chaos, to return with ideas that define psychology itself. Tesla rejected marriage, devoted himself to invention, left a legacy of power the world still runs on. Greatness doesn't come from crowds, it's born in the silence of the solitary. But here's the danger. When you're alone, you can't be read, you can't be predicted, you can't be tamed. Society can't understand you, and what it can't understand, it fears. That's why solitude is dangerous, because a man who walks alone has nothing to hide and nothing to lose. Because a man who answers to no one is the only man truly free. And here's the truth, you must burn into your mind. Solitude isn't emptiness. It's power. It's clarity. It's the place where you sharpen your mind, harden your will, become who you were meant to be. So never again call yourself lonely. You're not lonely, you are becoming. And when you finally step out of that solitude, You won't be seen as weak or pitiful. You'll be seen for what you really are. The dangerous man society fears the most. Control is the religion of society. It doesn't care about truth. It doesn't care about justice. What it craves more than anything else is predictability. That's why every system you were born into is designed to domesticate you. Religion tells you obedience is holiness. Marriage teaches you compromise is love. Debt convinces you slavery is responsibility. Morality claims conformity is virtue. Different faces on the same trap, chains disguised as commandments. And for most men, the system works perfectly. They marched willingly into the cage. They bind themselves with contracts they can't break. And once they're inside, they become safe, predictable, and fully owned. But what happens when a man says no? What happens when a man walks past the altar, past the courthouse, past the bank and refuses to kneel? What happens when a man decides not to play their game at all? He becomes dangerous. Dangerous because he can't be easily mapped. He can't be predicted. And what can't be predicted must always be feared. Nietzsche warned about this long ago. He called these men free spirits, the ones who slip through morality's nets and reject the herd's commands. And what does society do to them? It brands them wicked. It calls them heretics. It casts them as madmen. Not because they are wrong, but because they are untouchable. Look at Galileo, locked away for daring to say the earth wasn't the center of everything. Look at men who rejected marriage chains and were mocked as immature. Look at those who refused debt and were labeled irresponsible. The system doesn't care about your being. It cares about control. But control fails the moment you stop needing it. That's why society fears the single man, because you don't beg for their validation. You don't kneel to their rules. You don't live a life that can be bribed, blackmailed, or manipulated. And here's the paradox they can never solve. The more they attack you, the less you need them. The more they shame you, the stronger your solitude becomes. And as your solitude grows, their chains weaken. Society thrives on obedience, but rebellion always starts with one man who refuses. And by standing outside their systems, you already are that man. This is the final truth. Control only works on men who accept it. The moment you reject control, you become unreadable. The moment you become unreadable, you become untouchable. And once you are untouchable, you become feared. That is the law of fear. The herd can't domesticate you. The machine can't program you. The world can't own you. So it trembles not before armies, not before kings, but before the solitary man who walks away. And in walking away, proves they were never needed in the first place. This moment is a kind of death. Not your physical death, but the death of the self that was owned. The man who begged for approval. The man who explained himself. The man who sat on the edge of the herd, waiting to be invited in. That man is gone, buried deep in this silence now. From today forward, you are not a man seeking permission. You are not a man apologizing for his solitude. You are not a man begging for love, validation, or belonging. You are something else entirely. You are the man they can't own. You are the man they can't predict. You are the man they can't control. Every insult they threw at you is now armor. Every shame they tried to chain you with is broken, steel beneath your feet. And every fear they whispered about you with selfish, unstable you, now wears your crown. From this moment on, you walk with a different presence. You don't ask for a seat at the table. You are the man the table. Fears will arrive. You don't wait for recognition. You are recognition. Understand this clearly. The weak self has died. The apologetic self has died. The owned self has died. What remains is the free spirit Nietzsche warned about. The solitary wolf who hunts alone. The dangerous man society can't explain, bind, or tame. And this rebirth isn't just symbolic, it's real. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you feel the power of being unwound, you can't go back to chains. Once you cross this threshold, you become untouchable. So take this moment as an oath. The death of the old self, the birth of the feared self. Know this with certainty. You are no longer the man who waits. You are the man who arrives. And when you arrive, the world will not ask. You too, explain. It will tremble. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. From now on, don't let society's lies define you. Don't bow to their shame. Don't kneel to their rules. Don't carry their chains, because you're no longer a man they can own. You're the man they fear. And this channel, This brotherhood is not just for entertainment, it's built on initiation. Every man who subscribes, every man who comments, every man who declares his presence here doesn't do it as a favor. He does it as a seal, a ritual proof that he's stepped out of the herd and into the ranks of the untouchable. So understand this clearly: when you subscribe, you're not just supporting me, you're swearing an oath. When you like this video, you're not just pressing a button, you're carving a mark. When you comment, you're not just adding words, you're declaring, I belong to no one but myself. This is the ritual of fear, the ritual of the solitary, the ritual of the man no longer ashamed to walk alone. And remember Nietzsche's eternal warning: the individual has always struggled to avoid being overwhelmed by the tribe. Now that struggle is yours. The oath is yours. The power is yours. You are the man society fears. Prove it. The truth about society's control is simple. It thrives on predictability, and predictability comes from obedience. Every system you know, political, religious, economic, is designed from the ground up to keep you in line. They sell obedience as holiness, marriage as love, debt as responsibility, conformity as virtue. Different names, same damn trap. For most men, the system works like a charm. They walk willingly into the cage, signing contracts they can't break. Once inside, they're safe because they're predictable, owned, and controlled. But what about the man who refuses? The one who walks past the altar, the courthouse, and the bank without bowing down. The man who chooses not to play the game at all. He becomes dangerous. Why? Because he can't be mapped, he can't be predicted, and anything unpredictable is a threat. Nietzsche called these men free spirits. Those who slip out of morality's net, who refuse the herd's commands. What does society do to them? It calls them wicked. It labels them heretics. It dubs them madmen. Not because they're wrong, but because they're untouchable. Look at Galileo, thrown in jail for daring to say the earth isn't the center of everything. Look at men who rejected marriage and were mocked as immature. Look at those who refused debt and were called irresponsible. The system doesn't care about your well-being. It cares about control. And control breaks the moment you stop needing it. That's why society fears the single man. You don't beg for permission. You don't kneel to rules. You live a life that can't be bought or shaped or manipulated. Here's the paradox they can't solve. The more they attack you, the less you need them. The more shame they throw, the stronger your solitude becomes. And the stronger your solitude, the weaker their chains. Society needs obedience to survive. But rebellion only needs one man to say no. By standing outside, you have already become that man. This is the truth. Control only works over men who accept it. The moment you reject control, you become unreadable, untouchable. And once untouchable, you become feared. That's the brutal logic. The herd can't domesticate you. The machine can T-program you. The world can't own you, so it trembles. Not before armies, not before kings, but before the solitary man who walks away. By walking away, he proves that the world never needed him. This is the death of the old self. Not physical death, but the death of the man who begged for approval, who explained himself, who waited for a seat at the herd's table. That man is buried in silence today. From this moment on, you are not a man seeking permission. You are not apologizing for your solitude. You are not begging for love, validation, or belonging. You are someone else entirely. You are the man they cannot own, the man they cannot predict, the man they cannot control. Every insult thrown at you is now armor. Every shame they tried to chain you with is broken steel beneath your feet. Every fearful word they whispered, dangerous, selfish, unstable, you wear like a crown. From this day, you walk with a different presence. You don't ask for a seat at the table. You are the man the table fears. You don't wait for recognition. You are recognition. Understand this clearly. The weak self is dead. The apologetic self has died. The owned self has died. What remains is the free spirit Nietzsche warned about, the solitary wolf hunting alone. The dangerous man society cannot explain, bind, or tame. This rebirth isn't symbolic. It's real, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you feel the power of being unbound, you can never go back to chains. But once you cross this threshold, you become untouchable. So take this moment as a sacred oath. The death of the old self, the birth of the feared self. Know this without doubt. You are no longer the man who waits. You are the man who arrives. And when you show up, the world won't ask you to explain, it will tremble. This is not the end, it's just the beginning. From this point forward, never let society's lies define you again. Don't bow to their shame. Don't kneel to their rules. Don't carry their chains, because you're no longer a man they can own. You are the man they fear. And this channel, this brotherhood, it's not built on entertainment, it's built on initiation. Every man who subscribes, comments, or declares his presence here doesn't do it as a favor. He does it as a seal, a ritual proof he has stepped out of the herd and into the ranks of the untouchable. So understand this, when you subscribe, you're not supporting me, you're swearing an oath. When you like this video, you're not pressing a button, you're carving a mark. When you comment, you're not just adding words, you're declaring, I belong to no one but myself. This is the ritual of fear, the ritual of the solitary, the ritual of the man no longer ashamed to walk alone. And remember Nietzsche's eternal warning. The individual has always struggled against being swallowed by the tribe. Now, that struggle is yours. The oath is yours. The power is yours. You are the man society fears. Prove it. Now, it's time to understand one final truth. Control is a religion, not a law. It doesn't care about justice or truth. It craves one thing, and one thing only: predictability. That's why every system you've been born into is designed to domesticate you, to chain you to their rules and rituals. Religion tells you obedience is sacred. Marriage insists compromise is love. Debt convinces you that slavery is responsibility. Morality cloaks conformity and virtue. Different masks, all designed to trap you. And for most men, this system works perfectly. They march willingly into the cage, signing contracts they can't break. Once inside, they're safe, predictable, owned. But what happens when a man stands up and refuses? What happens when a man passes the altar, the courthouse, and the bank without kneeling? When he simply refuses to play their game, he becomes dangerous. Why? Because he can't be mapped or predicted. And what can't be predicted must always be feared. Nietzsche called these men free spirits. They slip through the nets of morality and refuse to bow to the herd. What does society do to free spirits? It brands them wicked. It calls them heretics. It dubs them madmen. Not because they're wrong, but because they're untouchable. Look at Galileo, locked away for daring to say, the earth is not the center of the universe. Look at men who rejected marriage chains and were called immature. Look at those who refused debt and were branded irresponsible. The system doesn't care about your well-being. It cares about control. And control falls apart as soon as you stop needing it. That's why society fears the single man. Because you don't beg for validation. You don't kneel to rules. You can't be bribed or blackmailed. There's a paradox. Here they can't solve. The more they attack you, the less you need them. The more shame they throw your way, the stronger your solitude grows. And the stronger your solitude, the weaker their chains become. Society runs on obedience, but rebellion begins with one man who says no. And by standing outside the herd, you've already become that man. Here lies the ultimate truth. Control only works on men who accept it. The moment you reject it, you become unreadable, untouchable, and therefore feared. That's the law of fear. The herd can't domesticate you. The machine can't program you. The world can't own you. It trembles, not before armies or kings, but before the solitary man who walks away. The man who proves by leaving that they were never needed to begin with. This moment marks a death. The death of the old self. Not physical death, but the death of the owned self. The self that begged for approval, explained itself, and waited to be invited into the herd. That self is dead, buried here, in this silence. From this day forward, you are no longer the man seeking permission. You are no longer the man apologizing for his solitude. You are no longer the man begging for love, validation, or belonging. You are someone else entirely. You are the man they cannot own, the man they cannot predict. The man they cannot control. Every insult thrown your way is armor. Every shame meant to chain you is broken steel beneath your feet. Every whispered fear dangerous, selfish, unstable is now your crown. From this moment on, you walk with a new presence. You don't ask for a seat at the table. You are the man the table fears. You don't wait for recognition. You are recognition. Understand this deeply. The weak self is dead. The apologetic self has died. The owned self no longer exists. What remains is the free spirit. Nietzsche warned about the solitary wolf hunting alone, the dangerous man society cannot explain, bind, or tame. This rebirth is no symbol, it's real, because once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you feel the power of being unbound, there's no going back. Once you cross this threshold, you become untouchable. Take this moment as an oath, the death of the old self, the birth of the feared self. Know this without doubt. You are no longer the man who waits, you are the man who arrives. And when you show up, the world won't ask you to explain it, will tremble. This is not the end, it's the beginning. From now on, never let society's lies define you. Don't bow to their shame. Don't kneel to their rules. Don't carry their chains. You're no longer a man they can own. You're the man they fear. And remember this channel. This brotherhood is not built on entertainment, it's built on initiation. Every man who subscribes, who comments, who stands here with us, doesn't do it as a favor. He does it as a seal, a ritual, proof that he stepped out of the herd and into the ranks of the untouchable. So understand this clearly. When you subscribe, you're not supporting me, you're swearing an oath. When you like the video, you're not just pressing a button, you're carving a mark. When you comment, you're not just adding words, you're declaring, I belong to no one but myself. This is the ritual of fear, the ritual of the solitary, the ritual of the man no longer ashamed to walk alone. And keep in mind, Nietzsche's eternal warning, the individual has always struggled not to be crushed by the tribe. Now that struggle belongs to you. The oath is yours, the power is yours. You are the man society fears. Prove it. Now, as this journey comes to its end, remember this: the man who walks alone carries a power that no one chained can ever match. This isn't about loneliness or emptiness, it's about freedom, strength, and truth. Society fears that power because it cannot control it, cannot predict it, and cannot own it. From the ancient philosophers who questioned everything but never bowed down, to the innovators who changed the world without ever locking themselves into the herd, history is full of men who walked alone and who shook the world to its core. You might be the man who wakes up tomorrow and throws off every expectation, who disappears into a new city, or changes paths just because he can, who takes risks that the herd would never dare. That freedom terrifies them because it's a reminder of what they lost, what they gave up, and what they will never regain. But for you, it's your power, your strength, the very thing that makes you untouchable. This channel, this brotherhood, is a testament to that power. Every subscriber, every comment, every declaration here is more than just participation. It's a statement, a ritual, an oath, that says, I will not be tamed. I belong only to myself. So finally, stand tall. Wear your solitude like armor. Know that with every step taken alone, you grow stronger. You are not a failure, not broken, not lost. You are the man society fears because you are free, free to live on your own terms, free to become who you were always meant to be. This is your journey, this is your power, and now you hold it. Prove to the world that the dangerous man is alive and thriving, because the world isn't ready for men like you. But that doesn't mean you won't make them tremble. This is not just a video, it's a call to rise, a call to embrace solitude, a call to own your freedom and wear your independence like a crown. So go ahead, walk alone, walk free, because you are the man they fear the most. And that, my friend, is your greatest victory.